the June.
Except for the hour. I know. Yes.
Here, just let me know.
Hmm?
Let me know when you're ready.
Yeah, we're ready.
Have it now.
Okay, then I'll call this to order. Sorry, we're a few minutes late. And you need a roll call or?
I'm taking note of the attendance.
Okay, I just got a text from Deb saying she's a few minutes late, see you soon. Darn it, now here I've got all this two-factor illness. Keeping you safe. Yeah. Now I've got to put 16 somewhere. Where am I supposed to put 16?
Be in your.
In the phone or your iPad?
Change your.
Okay, don't ask again. It's not recognized, okay. No, you recognize my face, but I still don't see my agenda. Okay, public participation. Is there anyone from the public? You recognize everybody on, is anybody from the public that would like to speak to the committee? Very good. Okay, how about the minutes? Did anyone look at the minutes from last time?
Yeah, this is Chris. Apologize for not being there in person. I had back-to-back meetings this morning, but I reviewed the minutes and would offer a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay, I think there's anyone here to object. Everybody's been heard on that. So we'll consider the minutes approved. Old business, board oh, yes,
We also need approval of the agenda.
sorry, the agenda, yes. Would anybody like to offer a motion for that?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda, please.
I'll second.
Before we vote on that, we might want to consider just quickly reviewing the board procedure manual too, that we're going to send back to the committee this month. Should we stick that as item C under old business, or is it, what's the committee's pleasure on that? But should we look at that again? I don't really care.
Which one is it again?
The board procedure manual. Remember, we offered it to the board at the last meeting.
Oh.
We were going to offer it as a motion.
I'm fine. I don't need to see it again, but I'm like happy to discuss it again.
Yeah, I'm fine with that, Hal.
Okay, let's leave it on there. Let's breeze through it if we don't need to. Oh, this is so on my computer. It's so cumbersome after the two-factor. There. Okay, so then board self-examination. So we've distributed that. Talked about it, looked at it. I think it's in your packet. What more to say about that? I hope members of the committee have thought about this. Pardon?
Hal, you're talking about the board of directors evaluation, not the CEO evaluation, correct?
Correct. So,
Yep.
Okay, for the benefit, anybody who, I think everybody, except Angie's heard this before, but a couple of years ago, we did a board self-examination based on, the governance committee did that for us. It was hugely complex, lots of numbers, lots of stuff, lots of graphs, and nothing really actionable came out of it. And so this was an attempt this year to really simplify it, but make it so that somehow after the board self-examination, we would have something to base recommended changes. So this is a simplified version. How many questions do we have?
11.
11 questions. Some of them are open-ended to
Mhm.
try to get something simple and then also something that we continue on in the future so we be able to monitor change rather than start over from scratch in a couple of years. So is there any comments from committee members?
I think it looks very nice. And I like the color.
Like what?
But no, the coloring, I mean, it's got a shade to me. Maybe I'm just, but it does way it's outlined it because it looks nice to read. And the questions are fine.
Are there any thoughts from staff? Are we ready?
I read it and I like the questions that you were asking, the open-ended of what could be done. So I think it'll come up with some actionable information.
Are we ready to have a motion to send this on to the full board, the next meeting?
I have a quick question
Yes.
regarding page 3. Looks like there's an editorial comment there about putting in a question about well-being of senior leadership.
I'm sorry, can you direct me specifically where?
Yeah, it's on page 3, and it's right in between question 6 and question 7.
Okay, page 3. Yeah, there's two pagination. Oh, maybe a question about well-being of students. Yeah, that was just a draft comment. We'll simply take that out if nobody has any specific. So where we are is we are looking at the board self-examination questionnaire again, looking for things to change. Haven't had many comments. Did you have a comment?
I apologize. You and I had worked on a second draft that looks quite a bit different from this.
We did.
We did. It was in line more with the CEO evaluation.
I apologize then. This is.
It's very similar, but not exactly the same.
I apologize. I lost track of versions there.
Yeah.
Could you show us, could you refer us to any differences?
See if I can. So it was done very similar to the CEO evaluation. So it's broken into sections. Section 1 was governance, board governance and leadership, financial oversight and sustainability. Section 2, section 3 was stakeholder and community engagement. Section 4 was board functionality and effectiveness. And then there was a section that was just all scale 1 through 5 Likert scale. And each section had what are 2 things that are going well and 2 things that could be improved. And at least in our exchange, I thought I apologize. I don't mean to derail things, but your email said this sounds like the direction that we wanted to go as a board. So I just wasn't sure if we had the right.
Well, I apologize. I lost track of that.
No
Because when I
problem.
went looking for the last version that I had on my computer, this is what I had. What I like to do is let's look at what we have, because that's what's in the board packet. And let's look and see if there's ways we could modify this more consistent with your suggestions. Can you lead us?
It's yeah. No, I'll have to use some. So we included a best practices section at the top, just as an indicator of how the design was aligned with best practices in board self-evaluations. That was put at the top there in that paragraph section. Page 2 indicated that just like how you have the response rate on 1 through 5, it just indicates that across the board for all questions. And then the questions are a little bit more in depth. Yeah, honestly, Hal, I don't think I could do it in this setting to like actually try to cross-reference the two. There's enough differences that I think it would be might be a disservice to try to hash this all out.
How would the committee like to proceed? Should we proceed with this version, or do you want to look at another?
Sure.
Please.
I do recall that this discussion and the two of you were going to work on something that was more in line with the CEO evaluation. And my understanding is that we cannot present another document. Is that not correct? Because
Yeah, we'd have to modify this one.
exactly, but it sounds like the changes were substantive enough that without looking at the other documents, without us, it will be substantive enough. I would table it till.
Is it, sorry, through the chair, is it possible to send it to Sharon for review? Like,
And she can't put it up on the screen with this part of the packet.
I don't think so.
And she can't
Yeah.
copy it and hand it out. That's the problem here. And it's, my recollection is that and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that the changes are substantive enough that we really have to look at them.
I think it would.
I had to leave before that meeting, and so I'm not certain what you guys decided on, but the board evaluation and the CEO evaluation are two very different things. So I'm just curious why the board evaluation needed to align with the CEO evaluation.
Bruce?
It was more of through the conversation. It was just the idea. It wasn't aligning it in terms of like the questions, like the same questions. It was just the board seemed to find the format of the CEO evaluation and like the open-ended questions combined with the quantitative questions to be beneficial. And so I just made a rough format that we and Hal and I discussed, and it just looks like it didn't make the packet for discussion. I apologize. That was probably me dropping the ball now.
Okay, so just looking at this document, I think this is really good. I think if we table this, we're now putting our work out another month or two. I'm not enthusiastic about tabling this and bring it back into another month and then continuing the process when I think we need to move forward on the evaluation. But maybe others disagree with me and have a different point of view.
Chris, what are your thoughts?
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
My immediate thought when I raised my hand was to table it to take into consideration the other version that was being described by Chad. I'm rethinking that, listening to Deb's comments around, do we really push this off for another month? I don't recall what the timeline, or was there a deadline for having this to the board and finished?
I don't think there's a deadline. Deb, you might think differently. It's typically something that I think that we would do towards the end of the year.
Right.
And here we are in the middle of the year. So I don't think there's anything urgent other than I'd like us to just keep moving forward. I don't think it would harm anything to put this up. I can't really remember what was in the other one, and personally, I just not put it off if it's essentially the same thing. I just soon make the changes here. It's essentially the same thing. If it is substantially different, then it doesn't hurt anything to put this off for our next meeting.
I'm fine with whatever you guys want to do. I just asked the question, but like I said, I wasn't here at the end, so I didn't know what was substantially different about this versus what you were going to do with the next one. So, fine with me.
Yes, I'm fine either way. So I think Deb and Chris, what are you, I think you've thought about it for a second. What do you think?
Well, I like the approach of just trying to think about what might be different, and trying to edit this version, but now I think I'm going back to the other direction where I'd be in alignment with the thought of tabling this until next month when we can actually see the document.
Okay, we probably weren't going to have a meeting next month, but we could have a.
Or whenever
just
you were going to schedule it. Sorry.
For contents, the cadence of the two evaluations that we've been looking at is that the CEO evaluation is, my recollection of what we discussed is the CEO evaluation is coming up like in October. And we generally do the board evaluation in November for presentation to the December meeting.
Okay. I mean, we can table it. I think that's fine. And, are people gonna be here in August? Another meeting?
Well, we'll talk to. I think, I don't want to just sit here in a state of indecision for another 10 minutes. Let's just table this then.
I'm fine with that.
Okay,
Table it.
then let's move on. CEO evaluation. We'll move on to that. I hope people have looked at this. This is the one that we worked on. I hope, okay. Then any thoughts here? Oh, I have one thought, but let's hear what other people say.
I actually believe that this is, I mean, we can continue to tweak it, but I think that this version is without tweaking it to death, I think this version is acceptable.
I agree.
I have one thought under section 2 to be answered individually by board members. The goals were previously set forth. Some of these are just straightforward questions that could be answered as matters of fact. So they did maintain an operating margin of greater than 2.5%. Well, that's not a matter of opinion. That's something that we just. Some of these could be separated out because they're matters of fact. And I'm not sure how we ended up asking these. And increase employee satisfaction. Expand orthopedic services, develop a set of opportunities for primary care providers, improve physician satisfaction, and reduce travel expenses. So 1 through 6, we might just have staff check and see are these.
Yes, no,
Pardon?
just yes, no questions.
Yes, and just look in the record and see if these are.
I guess, Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I would still, I agree, it's a yes, no thing for most of this, but I would give the respondents the opportunity to comment on a job well done or what the next level might be, or is this something that we want to keep? Just comments. Is this a goal that we want to keep in the future? There is a section, I realize, at the end for future goals, but we might comment on the existing goals. Excuse me. So I could go either way, but I don't think there's any harm in leaving space for comments.
Well, so the thing that I'm talking about isn't really a question about comments. It's a question about these yes, no answers. And And these are the goals I think that were given.
Here's the goal, can I make a comment?
Please.
So I put some thought into this after the board's discussion. And I kind of chatted with Deb about this immediately after, was going to like a kind of a grading approach like that we do at the school, because we have a weight. So you can weight the goals, based on importance, then you'd have a point, a 0 to 100 points. And then that is on a grade to the CEO. And so let's say I can't meet the 2.5 grade, but there's a lot of mitigating circumstances. You could still give me a number of points that would go to that goal versus 0, which is a yes/no approach. Because there's gonna be a lot of things that drive that. And I think that's kind of that's the feel I got from some of the board members. It gives a little more discretion. That's just my suggestion.
Yeah, so you're saying, your suggestion would be each individual board member would provide both the score and the weight.
I think you guys should agree on the weights. I think
Ahead
you
of time, yeah.
agree on the weights ahead of time, and each of you would go through and score individually with a point. You wouldn't versus a pass fail. Because if it's just pass fail, there's no reason for you guys to look at it. It's just-
Well, other than we would look at it.
Yeah.
Because I think that would then be put before the board when they're making a subjective decision.
Yeah, but I think it does give some of the boards, it alleviates some of their concerns.
I think that's an excellent suggestion. Chris, you have any thoughts? Chris, you still with us?
Is,
Yeah, sorry, I was having trouble getting to the unmute button. I recall that from the board meeting, and I agree with that approach. I think that it would make sense for us to have a little bit of, I think you used the word discretion, Joe, and I agree with that.
and, Mr. Chair,
Please.
and the comment section, I guess what I was trying to get to is the comment section would support the board's rating, the board members' rating to,
Mhm.
So are you suggesting after 6, we just have some blank spaces for comments?
no, under each question.
Oh, okay.
You've got yes, no plus comments, so leave a space for comments.
I see.
And in this case, it would be score. There would be a score, whether it's 75 or, 100 or 92 or whatever the score would be. And then the comments section would be the rationale behind the individual board member's score.
So I also
Is
agree
that what
that
you were?
that's an excellent suggestion. So then we don't need a motion or anything. Let's just do that. Unless you have any objection, Chris?
No,
Is there any comments from staff about?
But it's not, if it's okay with the chair, I just want to confirm. So rather than it saying yes, no plus comments, it'll be score plus comments.
There'll be,
And then are we still having a weighting?
I think what it'll be is weight with the board will go through this next board meeting, assign a weight, and then there'll be a point 0 to 100, and they'll have to assign points to each of those 6 questions.
Got it. Okay.
And then you'll have a space underneath each of those where they can drop comments on.
Perfect. I just want to make sure that whatever edits I make to the document reflect exactly what you.
and we'll leave some text explaining.
Should we also have a comment, a statement there in the section where it says comment, that is, please comment on your reflection or your score? Because I think some people may not comment. They may just make their score and then move on to the next question. Not wanting, or not taking the time or whatever to make a support statement about what they thought about how they weighted it.
We'll put that in the text describing.
Yeah, just,
In the top part, under the description and organization on board.
yes, yeah, please comment on yours.
Right.
I don't know how you would word it, but just so that people know that comment is not an option.
Hard filled.
So then I was thinking I would modify this, but Chair, are you going to just, let's not get version control.
Yeah.
Again, so you're going to make modifications. So then you're wondering who's it. So you're it.
I will take care of it for you.
Okay, you're it in the sense that you've got the official version.
This has to go back to the board for the waiting process.
Yes.
Just have to have it as an action item or just.
Yes, that's my intent. It's just comes an action item
Okay.
as a motion for this committee. Okay. Should we go?
We need a motion to make it an action item. I just want to make sure.
Should we do that at the end to?
Sorry, yeah, we have a lot of sections. But,
Yeah. Let's go through it and then we'll. Yeah, let's vote on the whole thing. Let's go through this, there we go. Okay, so we've gone through. Your evaluation, strategic leadership, governance. Okay, so we had talked about let's go back up to the top. So section 1, strategic leadership and governance. We answered individual board members. CEO effectively communicates. Section 1, quantitative rating. CEO ensures. Now that I'm looking at this, I'm not used here. Section 1, quantitative rating. CEO ensures financial security. Section 2.
should there be a spot to put the score on each of those questions in the first?
Yeah, there will.
Okay, you'll put it.
Okay, that's what I was a little bit confused.
May I ask you another question, if it's okay?
Yes, please.
Do you want the quantitative scoring to reflect the same 100-point scale?
Your points.
You're using a 100-point scale for section 2.
The weights had to add up to them. It wasn't, they weren't to be. The score, what Joe's calling score, that wasn't on the scale.
I was under the impression that the score was on a 100-point scale.
Well, it could be.
So I didn't know if you wanted to align that across the whole thing.
That's defined. Everybody.
Yeah, that works. It'll be much easier to complete if we're not switching weightings and methodology.
Oh, yeah, Joe, you did say.
Yeah, that was just a suggestion. I mean, we can go the other way and make the points up to 5 too. I mean,
Yeah, I don't think it matters except for consistency.
Yeah.
What do you think?
It's the board's preference.
I don't think. I think we just need one assertive person here.
Statistically, I mean, from a statistical standpoint, what would give you the best data?
No one knows.
Well, I think the Likert scale might be a little easier to understand, but the way you want to do it.
I was thinking that 100 points because I was just relating it back to when I look at my kids' homeworks. They weight their scores and then they have it based on the points, and that ends up with an overall grade. That was my only correlation. So
Yeah, I think people would understand it. Okay. Yeah, so am I hearing the consensus is let's use a 100-point scale? And let's use 100-point.
Okay.
Let's have the weights sum to 100 because they
Yeah.
divide that by 100 portions. Okay. So then CEO effectively communicates and executes the organization's strategic vision. CEO assures financial stability and financial responsibility. CEO fosters positive and collaborative relationship with the board and community leaders. And then 3 questions. CEO is doing well, how could he improve? How well does the CEO align with the organization? Okay, we've talked about these section 2s, these. Really, I don't think we're at liberty to change those because those are the goals that the CEO, current CEO was given. Medical staff relationships and patient care. And so my vision was these would go to the med executive staff, executive committee. And then we would have more than one individual comment. I think it's probably not a whole lot to quibble about here. CEO engages effectively with medical staff. I personally want to know that medical staff thinks that's the case. Prioritize high quality care, so on and so forth. Operational efficiency and organizational culture. Okay, it's pretty obvious what we're trying to do here. Have senior leadership have an opportunity to comment. These questions are pretty straightforward. Any comments about these questions? Okay, labor relations. So I've heard two things as we've talked about this. One is this would be just given to the union's president, which doesn't seem like a good idea to me because that's just one person. Or to be some collection of senior leadership from the union. That makes more sense to me because you have more than one person. In any event, this is just information for the board. This isn't going to directly affect any score. And I think this one was maybe a little controversial. I think this is a good idea to try to engage the union with the board a little bit more than the whole time I've been on the board. They have not been engaged. They came to one meeting and they were trying to tell us something and it was not very clear what they were trying to tell us. And that was it. So I think it's a good idea. I put it in there. The rest of the committee really needs to make a decision whether it's a good idea or not.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
before I comment, I'd like to hear from the senior leadership for a couple of reasons. All or most of you were sat in on the labor negotiations. Is there, so you work very closely with staff. Is the union the right group of staff, of leadership at the staff level to present this to, or is it the negotiators from, because it wasn't just the president that was on the staff the union negotiating team, correct?
Correct.
So is there some other mix other than the president that we should be discussed before we should include in this before I'm ready to weigh in on this comment?
Well, if I could ask a similar question too, from both these questions. Is there even a group to approach? Is there some group that would want to participate?
So two things. Going back to the question that was asked at the board meeting, to just kind of reiterate, this would be a more unique practice to involve the union in the CEO evaluation. This would be what I would consider kind of cutting edge to have that kind of feedback. Number two, you could take out if there's some concern about feeling like the union is providing a ranking or a quantitative component versus just providing feedback, would it make sense to just include the qualitative questions to just get information rather than trying to get a score? That's a viable option as well. Union leadership consists of the president, the vice president, the treasurer, and that would be kind of your main three individuals. How that would roll out past that, I don't know the rest of their hierarchy, other than that they do have some union stewards that could possibly be included. But I don't have that list of who those individuals are in front of me. That might be another 2 to 3 people. Yeah, those are does that answer the questions?
That's helpful, I think. Chris, you have any thoughts?
No, nothing that hasn't already been discussed. No, I'm good.
Oh,
Do you have any comments, Lisa?
I don't really know how helpful it is to know what the union thinks, because I'm more interested in what employees think. Union members have a different agenda. And I mean, leadership, I mean, when it comes to the contract, I don't know if they really have enough knowledge, I mean, even to understand the role of the CEO, I mean, and it's far encompassing more than that. I mean, so labor relations, I mean, yeah, I mean, they're gonna say yes or no. Employees, I mean, we do the employee satisfaction thing all the time, so I don't know how we gauge, I don't know if this isn't, I don't even know if that's an appropriate avenue for us with the CEO evaluation, is what I'm saying. And I think it's kind of problematic. I mean, so many of these things sometimes is that it's an adversarial relationship anyway. So like I said, I don't know if it's really gonna give us any useful information.
My thought is that you should never gather data, especially when it costs you something, unless you know what you're gonna do with it. And so I've asked myself, what would we do with this? Well, what if we get this back in the first year? And the question, the CEO demonstrates commitment to fair workplace policies and get 0, and so on and so forth. You know, with the worst possible. Well, I guess the first year I just kind of shrug my shoulder and think, well, they don't get it. The respondents don't get it. But if this is a process that's worthwhile, next year we've got another opportunity to engage the union in this, and that maybe they'll get it. On the other hand, if they seem like they kind of get it, the first time this data is really going to be, these data are going to be useful is 3 or 4 years down the way when we start seeing some kind of a trend. And the trend might indicate improvement in the CEO's performance, or it might indicate more engagement with the union, where they're taking it seriously. Either way, I think that's a good thing. The worst that'll happen is they'll never catch on. This will never be useful, and we'll just stop doing it after 3 or 4 years. That would be my. That's how I would approach it.
Mr. Chair, I have a couple more questions. On the employee engagement surveys that we do, is there any kind of section that relates to senior leadership and the CEO?
Senior leadership, yes. CEO specifically, I don't recall anything specific to the CEO. Bill, do you happen to remember? I apologize, I don't remember specific questions about the CEO on the employee engagement.
I'm just tossing something out there that perhaps something that would satisfy this going forward, the desire to talk about labor relations and employee satisfaction would be a question that we might add that's specific to the CEO and the CEO's efforts to bring the senior leadership along, and then we as a board would refer back to those very specific questions on the staff satisfaction survey.
And we can do modifications or questions. We have up to 5 questions that we can modify each year.
That would be measuring a different thing. That would be measuring the people that respond, where this is really measuring the union leadership. This is directly measuring the union.
So my only concern with that is, I mean, I don't think they only represent a small portion of the hospital. I don't know what the percent of union is, 60 maybe?
65.
That's 65%. So I mean, 1/3 of the employees have no say in this, but we're asking union leadership to weigh in on my evaluation. Good, bad, or indifferent. It is the people we work with through the most gruesome processes or inconvenient processes. So when we're dealing with staff, I mean, we're usually in contentious relationships sometimes. It's because they're trying to represent staff and we're trying to move the organization forward. So, I mean, I understand wanting input from, if we're trying to get staff's input, that's one thing. I don't think it comes from union leadership.
Indeed. So that's the thing I keep trying to say. I must not be saying it the right way. This measures union leadership's response. And the union leadership's response, we would have to measure that a couple of years before we figure out how to make any sense of it. If they just give you zeros and everything 3 years in a row, then I think we're ready to conclude, well, this isn't measuring anything useful. But if we want to measure how union leadership is engaged, have to ask the union leadership. That's what we do. The employee engagement is asking about the employees.
I have one more question. So the opportunities, just inherently, what are the opportunities for the CEO to engage with other than during the contract renewal process? What are the ongoing opportunities for the CEO and union leadership to engage? And that's what I'm trying to figure out is when is then
I get your point. I don't think there's anything really useful we're gonna get out of this. That's just my feeling. I just don't. I just see it as a problem. And because the thing is, if we do get all zeros and then next year it's all zeros and the following year it's all zeros, and then we say, oh, well, something useful, we just stop it. It's like, no, we've identified a problem 3 years in a row that we haven't done anything about. And again, it's 3 or 4 people opinions, not statistically. I don't think there's anything useful. I mean, if you guys want to leave it in, I mean, I'm definitely gonna go along with the group, but I just don't think there's anything statistically useful in that particular category.
Oh, Chris, yeah. Chris, if you, in the future, could you speak up? Because I'm not always looking.
Oh,
Okay.
sure, sorry, I'm just used to doing that because yeah, sure. Well, listening to the discussion and really kind of taking a kind of in, I'm feeling compelled to offer a suggestion to the committee that we remove this question. It doesn't, it seems to be having.
Chris, you mean the section or specific question?
This, yes, I'm sorry, to be more precise, yes, section 5, the labor relations and employee satisfaction, optional set of 4 questions, and then the 3 qualitative questions. As I listen to the conversation evolve and some of the points that are being made, I feel like this could be more contentious than helpful for whatever the person that the first thought that we envisioned this as being helpful. I think we're having enough discussion that it doesn't seem like it would be that helpful in the end. It might even cause some problems.
Like what do you mean by a problem? What would be an example of a problem?
Well, I think that you said it well. If we're trying to ask questions about labor relations, we should be asking them of the individuals that are involved in the labor relations, not necessarily the CEO. These would be questions for, we should be asking the questions of the union leadership in this manner, not in the CEO's evaluation, if that makes sense. They would be pulled apart.
Staff have any more comments? It seems like I think we're a little bit divided on this. Gail, do you have any thoughts?
I think I was leaning towards Lisa when she was talking about statistically significant when you're asking 3 people when you're looking at employee satisfaction. I'm looking at question 2 and 3. When you're just asking 3 people their view of that, that's really not going to give you a good version of it. So I think Joe was talking about when we have our employee satisfaction, Press Ganey in the fall, we're getting 60% of employees. So if we really want to have a question in there directed towards CEO, then we should work with Press Ganey of using one of our 5 questions specifically to the CEO, and we can, work on that for the board of adding a question or 2 in that for getting a well-rounded for all employees to answer if the board would would want that and it would please the board, rather than having three people give an opinion.
I don't want to be argumentative, but I would say about those three people, those are the statistical universe. That's everybody in the statistical universe of union leadership.
Of union leadership, but that's their opinion of employee satisfaction. But how can they talk about, that's their opinion of the CEO Sports employee satisfaction and professional growth. And that's their opinion, but that doesn't represent the entire employee base of 800 employees. So
Absolutely.
you're asking their one opinion. So that's three people, and then you're using that data to extrapolate.
That would be completely inappropriate to extrapolate, but that.
And what value would be if they gave 0
Well, then
for three people?
that would be useful information because then you know.
Why would that be useful? What would you do with it?
Well, then what you would do with that is you go, okay, there's three individuals who haven't filled this out correctly. There's three, that's a waste. You would know that if you just got 0, that they're not playing the game. They're not even trying.
So why ask the question?
Why ask the question? Because in the time I've been on the board, we have a union and the board isn't engaged with the union at all. This is an opportunity to engage with union leadership.
It shouldn't be as part of the CEO evaluation. If you want to engage with the union, then we need to engage with the union, but not make it part of his evaluation. That is just plain not fair.
Right.
Well,
And I would offer that it's not the board's role to engage with the union. That's an operational
Yes.
aspect. We need to know what's going on with labor relations, but we should not be engaging on an operational level with union leadership or the union. It should, pardon? Exactly. We should not be directing. Our role is to deliberate on and set guidelines for contract negotiations and to hear if there are specific grievances that provide a risk to the board, but not to weigh in operationally on how to solve those problems with the union and the grievances or activities at the staff level. We need to hear about it. We need to understand that something is being done, whether it's resolved or, what the ultimate resolution is. If it presents a significant enough risk to the hospital, but not specifically engaged with the union.
well, okay. So I can see where this is going. Chris, do you have any final thoughts?
No, I'm just in support of, I think, Deb, was that you speaking? Who was speaking just
That
now?
was me, Deb.
Okay,
It's hard to see on the little screen whose mouth is actually moving, but
okay, so I don't think we need a vote or anything. Let's just take this out of the draft. I would say that indeed, my view is that we shouldn't be fiddling around in the operational level with the union, but I do think it's very important for the board to be vigilant. And I can give lots of examples where boards have gone terribly wrong. Probably the best example of bad board behavior would be the whole Theranos debacle, where billions of dollars were lost because the board wasn't vigilant in hearing what employees were thinking. But okay, I don't want to go on and on about this. Let's just take that out. And so somebody else working on the draft here, or should I? Okay. Community and external directed to leaders and possibly additional stakeholders. So I was thinking now I'm in section 6. I thought, well, we send this maybe to the city manager's office, maybe the assistant city manager. I'm not sure. Maybe the mayor, maybe the assembly. I don't know. What would the committee like to do with section 6?
this is Chris. I had thought that there was consensus at the board meeting that that in the past, the CEO's evaluation had a component where city leadership did, or at least was offered the opportunity. I guess I was wondering if, what you just said, Hal, seems like you've got a mind that it should extend maybe to other people than just the manager.
I'm just offering that as a suggestion.
I think our,
As a possibility, sorry.
oh yeah, well, I mean, I think our liaison would be a good person to provide this with. Because this is the person that we directly work with. Definitely think, I mean, I don't say anything wrong with, I don't know about the whole assembly. I guess it kind of just depends on how we, view what their thoughts are, because I know that the assembly wants us to do our work. But I think the city manager, I mean, maybe even, I don't know, maybe even our attorney, I don't know. I mean, I don't have section for it, but definitely the liaison.
Could I ask, Joe, would you have any thoughts on this?
Well, as I read through the questions that are in the section, to me, the only one that can probably weigh in on those would be the city manager.
And maybe the deputy,
Maybe-
because you do
Yeah,
work
engage with those two,
very
like-
closely with the deputy.
Thinking about the liaison, I don't know if he sees me enough, like there's just gonna be,
Okay.
he's probably.
Chris, do you have any thoughts here? I think the suggestion that sort of floated out there, send it to the city manager and deputy. I might think it would be a good idea to send it to the liaison too, even if he doesn't know really what to say, at least it's given an opportunity. I could go either way. If you have any thoughts?
I could go either way on that. If I mean, he's the one that reports our activities to the rest of the, I definitely wouldn't send it to the entire assembly. If we're going to send it to an assembly member, our liaison is the one we should send it to.
So let's just start with let's just assume we'll send it to the manager, the deputy manager, and the liaison. Is there any comments on that proposal?
That's nice, it's pretty.
Any suggestions? Yeah. Chris, what do you think?
I agree with that. I think that's probably who this question was written for. Those three individuals.
Ed, you had a thought?
Just want to be thoughtful and wondering if the opinions of only 3 people in this circumstance different than the last circumstance where you said the opinions of 3 people representing a much larger group was not pertinent.
There aren't 800 people that they're working with.
Yeah, but they're talking about the community and the other people in the community. So we're asking 3 people's opinions about the entire community's perception. I just want to make sure that
I don't agree that asking just 3 people is somehow statistically inappropriate. If we're asking the city manager and the deputy manager, and if we just ask those 2 people, then what we have is the opinion of the city manager and the deputy manager. And we're not making inference about what somebody who works for Parks Department thinks. It doesn't have anything to do with it. That's the inference now is with the manager and the deputy manager. If it's 2 or 1 or, to me, that's not statistical. Yes.
I really don't want to drag this out for eternity. But there are a couple of questions in there that none of the 3 that we're talking about, and I don't know who would be the appropriate person unless we just sent a blanket postcard to every household. But meeting the social responsibility commitments is going to be I don't know that any of those 3 people would adequately represent.
I agree with you.
and engaging with stakeholders to address concerns. It's a much narrower scope that they'd be, the assembly and city leadership are stakeholders. There's no question about that. But I would narrow the scope of that to CBJ.
Right.
Okay, so the first suggestion is, you're saying take out question 6.2, is that right? And take it, oh, sorry, no, take out
Take out 6.3.
3, just take it out. And how about if we change 4 to CEO effectively engages with city leadership? Or
I like,
something like that.
Because that's really what we're trying to get to.
yes, yes.
Okay.
Exactly, yep.
Yeah, because, yeah, this whole past couple of years, we've been dealing with the whole question of social responsibility and where the whole hospital fits in that obligation, so I'm fine with getting rid of it.
Okay. All right. Are we done with this? Can I have a motion to send this forward to the board as an action item? Chris, would you be interested in seconding that?
I would second that, yes.
Okay. So you captured all the important changes? Okay. And then if there's no objection, then we'll consider that. We'll consider the motion passed. We'll present that at the let's see. Okay. The policy manual. Return to that briefly. Did anybody find any more mistakes? This is that should be changed to that. Commas to semicolons.
I think
I think we need a motion for that to come forward too. Don't we?
this is their second reading of it. You presented it at the last.
Yeah, so I think we need a motion to send that from the committee. Would anybody like to offer that motion?
I would offer that motion to move and this is the board procedure manual, is that
Yes.
correct? Forward to the board.
The policy man is the policy.
Excuse me then.
Okay, so the motion is to move the policy manual that we reviewed at our last meeting, that was reviewed at the last full board meeting. We move that forward as an action item. And Lisa, did you say you second it?
And I was second.
Is there any discussion? Okay, is there any objection? Being no objection, I think we'll consider that passed, and I think we're at the end of our agenda. Is
Board education.
We have new
Board
business.
education. Yes. So we're not at the end. I just, now that I look at the agenda, holy smokes. Yeah, the board education, yeah, we've spent a lot of time on, and we still have board committee comments and questions. Board education, so Joe sent me some thoughts. Could you talk about that briefly?
We can. I reached out to, one of the things we get with Virginia Mason and their agreement is some educational opportunities. So I reached out, asked her what opportunities are kind of accessible in the near term. She sent me a list of 11 items.
Oh.
But there was no clarification on, were they televisits? Was it in person? Do we have to fly you down there? Was there cost associated? So I sent back quite a few questions, but we did have a list of 11 opportunities that were relative to this board, I guess 10. So there is some trading on rules of the road, administrative versus policy rules of the board, conflict resolution, the role of the board as community ambassador, hospital finances, 101 to 201, the board's role in executive compensation. This one might be more pertinent to the time, board self-evaluation, the board's role in safety and quality, the board's role in succession planning, board succession planning, which might not be pertinent being appointed, but board's ethics and conflict of interest, and cyber risk management. So those are training she sent back. I'm trying to gather more information as to how we can access those. Whether we can, it'd be nice having multiple trainings that you guys can access virtually, in my mind. With the potential that if we wanted to look at like additional trainer come on maybe during our strategy session this fall as a speaker, maybe adding something to that as well.
It's great.
So even though we're appointed, I thought the succession plan kind of caught my attention. And even though we now have much more financial literacy on the board, I thought that was something we could always use more. Financial literacy on the board.
I agree. I would welcome that too. It's changing all the time too.
So thank you for that. Did you have any new thoughts on education?
Well, I had brought up, one of the things that was a black hole to me for the first several years was the not a truly deep dive, but a better understanding of the credentialing process, how it affects what our risk is if we don't do it well and if we don't complete it, but just a better understanding of the process, why it takes so damn long, because it seems to take an eternity, particularly for those of us who have been involved with it. But those kinds of things, just a deeper dive into the credentialing process, and the snippets that we get are when we change when we add folks to be credentialed. Those are the kinds of things. Basically, it's an amendment to the medical staff bylaws. That's where we get our little bit of insight, and then we get the credentialing report, which doesn't provide the back end to it. So I think a little deeper dive into credentialing at some point, but not the nuts and bolts, but just something that highlights our risk if we don't do it and do it well.
When you suggested that to me, my mind was flooded with examples that I know of. Hospitals got in terrible trouble by hiring someone who'd had a very troubled history. And I thought that was a good suggestion. I like that. Lisa, did you give it any thought?
Actually, I think that is a very comprehensive list. And, for me, I mean, I come from a health care background. The finance stuff would be really beneficial. Credentialing also, I hadn't really considered it, but you're absolutely correct. So no, I don't have anything to add. I think it looks just thorough.
Chris, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I would echo what Lisa said. The financial piece to me is good to understand, and just because it's one of my passion areas. We talked about Deb, you talked about risk, and there was something, I think it was the very last topic that you mentioned, Joe, on cyber risk. And risk is always something that a board should kind of be tussling with, just in general. So I would be in favor of, and it doesn't necessarily have to be just cyber risk, but I mean just risk overall, risk management, what we're doing to identify risks and mitigate them, the processes that we should be aware of as a board.
Especially with things changing so much. I mean, there are things now that are financially devastating that didn't even exist 10, 15, 20 years ago. I mean, different healthcare solutions and everything. So I think that's an important topic.
Are there any thoughts from other staff? Gail? Do you have any other thoughts? Anyone else?
I think those are good topics. I want to follow up on, Chris, I appreciate you, this is Deb, talking specifically about risk management. That was a bit of a black hole for me when I first came on because of our relationship with CBJ. So CBJ manages our insurance, correct? So we don't, it's very complicated how risk management is addressed in this setting. My familiarity with managing risk in other organizations doesn't include a governmental entity. So this is, it makes me nervous, and I don't understand it as well as to who to go to and who's first in line to address. I mean, we are in the event of a lawsuit.
Yeah.
But
I think what we could do is me and Gail can work together, try to flesh out what it looks like for us, and then the risk management isn't only an insurance, it's all the other stuff we do.
absolutely, it's
Maybe we can work.
it's
Some of that can be internal. I think it really be an outside training. We can have, I can talk to Virginia Mason, so maybe they can do a high level and then we can do specifics, if that makes sense. That could be one we could bring in and have a lot of good discussion with the strategy board.
Mhm.
If you guys are open to that.
Yeah.
What I can do is I can do some research on these new topics and try to flesh out the rest of the meeting list and feed it back to Hal and have more discussion, try to, are we gonna have a specific meeting on planning for education? Was that your goal, Hal?
Well, this committee is supposed to recommend to the full board education. And I can't remember where that was in what you call the cadence, but I think that's something we were supposed to do.
So we've talked about having, we've talked about a number of things over the years, having a short board education piece at each meeting, which to a certain degree, the A3 presentations does for us, but also select topics that we would do, and it's really up to us. And whether we want to do a deeper dive into a topic on a quarterly basis or bi-monthly, or, I mean, we never really got there, to my knowledge.
It seems like at least one time in the past, there were some self-study options and you had to sign an attestation, you did it. For me personally, I'd rather sit down for 2 hours on a Saturday and hear about the credentialing. Hear things I don't already know. We already know some things. I'd like to sit down for 2 hours and hear about finance, financial literacy, hear things I don't know in some depth. Then risk, we've dabbled, Gail, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we in the past, we've had some things about risk. And they weren't very specific and they weren't very helpful, and I didn't really learn anything from them. Is it, remember what I'm talking about?
That predate me.
Yeah.
They kind of predate you too. There was
We had some that came from Mag Mutual, and we had some outside trainers come in. That was probably 12 years ago.
I'm thinking something like 4 years ago when I first came on the board.
We had training come in when we had our outside compliance. Maybe that's what you're thinking about. They did some training. We had our outside compliance review.
Well, anyway, especially when you get to risk, it seems like it'd be very easy to have something that's kind of general, generic, and a bunch of platitudes. It wouldn't really help make me better.
We are right now, Beth and I are in the process. We have a new software that we're developing, our risk registry. So we're gonna have new dashboards available for the board that we're gonna have all of our risk registries and our dashboards in this new software program. So there's gonna be a little bit more in depth and for all of our risk registries. So that's gonna be coming up as we implement that. So more to show on that in the fall. We're right in our just building it out. So we're gonna have a little more depth looking at our risk management department. So with that, there probably will be some more information coming to the Quality and Compliance Committee on our risk management side.
So do you have enough to come back to us with some specific suggestions then? So we talked about this enough?
Through the chair, there's like, I think there's a comment in the chat.
Can't read that.
Render provided compliance risk training 5 years ago.
Thanks, Chris.
Was that a question to me?
Thanks, Beth. Thanks, Beth, sorry.
But I think I have enough information to formulate some options, pull together a list and start moving forward.
Okay, so are we log this enough? This governance committee stuff enough? Everybody ready to go out in the sun or back to Mr.
Your son?
Okay, so I think, so thanks, everybody. Let me pleased to move these two things out to the full board. Committee comments and questions. Chris, Deb, do you have any comments? Are there any comments from staff? Ken, we haven't heard much from you.
Comments.
Okay, then I think we're at the end of our meeting and consider it adjourned.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Beth.
Okay, thanks, everybody.